Hi again, everyone, and thanks for joining me and us for the final presentation of today. I hope you have found today to be resourceful so far and enjoyable, and hope you will enjoy the session that is about to begin. So this one will be about how mortgage administrators can build their personal brand and progress in their career. And don't forget to ask any questions you may have on the box during the screen, because we will start off with a panel discussion and then it will move on to a Q&A session, so there'll be a chance to get your questions answered. I now invite Rob Barnard, Intermediary Relationship Director at Pepper Money, Megan Betts, Case Management Specialist at Coreco, and Nicole Franklin, Operations Team Leader at Dynamo, to kick things off. Thank you.
Thanks, Shakina. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your busy days to join us this afternoon. As Shakina suggested, I'm Rob Barnard, Intermediary Relationship Director at Pepper Money. Myself and Pepper Money are absolutely delighted to be associated with today's Mortgage Solutions Mortgage Administrator Online event. At Pepper, we genuinely, honestly recognise the hugely important role that all mortgage administrators play in the mortgage application process, and for that we honestly say thank you. To back up our appreciation for all the work that you do, we're delighted to sponsor the Best Administrator categories at both the British Specialist Lending Awards and indeed the British Mortgage Awards, just a way to sort of say and recognise the great work that you all do. A role in administration can take many roads. Many use administration as a starting place in this great industry that we all work in, making it a success before actually deciding, you know what, I want to go on and move into an advisory position. On the other hand, many administrators want to make a career in this side of the business and maybe then move into administration management positions, leading teams, training, and passing on the great wealth of knowledge they've learned over time to the next generation of administrators, and that is absolutely superb. At Pepper, a recent survey that we carried out of all administrators backed these thoughts up. 45% of all our respondents wanted to actually just continue being great administrators. 29% were looking for alternative role in the mortgage or financial services industry, and 18% wanted to actually start learning CMAP or to finish the CMAP that they'd started, which is brilliant. And the greatest news of all, there was just such a very, very tiny percentage of all our respondents that said, you know what, financial services isn't for me, and they wanted to move on. But the majority wanted to make a career in mortgage management, whether that be administration or indeed advice. Our survey also suggested that over the last 12 months, processing times have increased by up to 60%. 40% of the respondents said, you know what, times have increased. 20% actually said they've increased significantly. And so as lenders, I promise you, we genuinely understand the challenges being faced by the sector at the moment, with fast-paced race pools being almost a daily occurrence. And we'll touch on that as we get into the Q&A sessions. We also looked at what skills are needed to make a great administrator. And you don't need me to tell that. I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by two fantastic administrators that we're going to talk about exactly those sort of subjects. So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Megan Betts and Nicole Franklin. Hi, guys. Megan is a case manager at Coreco. Megan started working in the mortgage industry in 2015 at John Charcoal. And as I described it to her, I think she's been on the London tour ever since. She went to SPF Private Clients before starting the journey at Coreco Specialist Finance to learn commercial, specialist buy-to-let and bridging. So not just in that vanilla sector, really working in the sort of more complicated sectors of our industry. Megan at the moment supports directly two brokers, and she's looking to broaden her horizons because she started to do some sort of paraplanning work with light touch buy-to-let cases, and also looking after the compliance for the brokers that she looks after. Crikey, that's a job and a half, Megan. Crikey, good luck to you on that. Nicole's operations team leader at Dynamo. Nicole has been with Dynamo for 4 years and is responsible for training and day-to-day management of a team. So you can already see the different career paths that I highlighted in my introduction. Alongside these management responsibilities, Nicole is also a dedicated case handler, so she's still on the tools, dealing with a high volume of business each day, including complex or unusual cases which benefit from her expertise. She's passionate about providing first-class customer service, building strong relationships with lenders, and supporting the wider company as a mental health first aider. Wow, that's a fantastic thing to have on your CV. And we are definitely going to touch on that and the pressures that are coming on both customers and indeed brokers alike. So good afternoon, ladies. I'm delighted you're able to join me today. So should we kick straight off with some questions? So let's start with you, Megan. tell me about your career and what actually inspired you to become a mortgage administrator. And why I say that is this is a great opportunity for you two to actually promote the sector to the wider audience today. So yeah, tell me about your career and what inspired you to join the industry as an administrator.
Well, I started my career at John Charcoal, and that was such a good company to start. So I wasn't actually just doing mortgage administration at that point. I was actually just doing administration for John Charcoal as a company. And I've always been interested in property, and I started to work my way up. Started doing the smaller mortgage administration roles, and then through experience and learning every single day in that job, it's come to me, and it's something that I really want to pursue. As you said, Rob, people go into being brokers, different sectors, and for now I'm just so happy being a mortgage administrator. I just think there's so many different roads that I can go down, and I've learned so much since starting about 9-10 years ago now. So,
and I bet you in that 10-year period, and we'll come on to this in a little while, you've seen so many changes. You've been through that curve already. I mean, they say that a week is a long time in politics. It certainly is in the mortgage industry at the moment, isn't it? Things change so quickly.
It's changing daily, and I'm learning something new daily. So,
which is brilliant.
Yeah,
Nicole, just so that you pick up on that and answer the same sort of question, if you don't mind. Tell us about your career and how you got into mortgage administration.
Yeah, so Dynamo is actually my first job within the mortgage industry. When I first started at Dynamo, I actually applied to be a mortgage advisor. I quite soon into the job realised I actually preferred the customer services side. I originally came from working in retail, so I quite like the customer facing, helping the customers, and the fact that you can, as a mortgage administrator, make a huge impact on clients, helping first time buyers get their dream properties, helping loads of experienced landlords with their really complicated portfolios. Obviously the list goes on and on. But I actually really enjoy what I do, and it's just every day's new. You're constantly learning. Everything's always changing. Lenders change their policies all the time, what they need, and trying and being able to. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. Being able to share that knowledge with my team is really, like, it makes a good impact on the business.
Massive. It's great. And as I said in my introductions, you've already sort of made that first step, haven't you? Now you're managing a team, you're leading a team, you're training a team, which I think is superb. I mean, one thing I've noticed over the last, I don't know, I've been doing mortgages far too long. It's all I've ever done. But one thing that I've noticed greatly is that we are seeing a lot of younger people come into the industry, which is fantastic. I mean, not that many moons ago, I used to stand up on a stage doing a presentation for Mortgage Solutions, and it would be almost looking out at the sea of grey-haired old men like me. And it's so great that we're now seeing younger people and a diverse community coming into our wonderful industry. And if that means they're coming in via administration, great. But if not, get the administrators to some of these events as well and see what they can learn at these sort of trade shows. Nicole, what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
I think becoming a team leader was one of the biggest highlights. I always want to try and progress within my roles, but to be able to share my knowledge from the last sort of 4 years with my team and develop them into an amazing, excellent case handlers, it's really amazing to watch them as well. I'm always learning, but watching them and how much they are learning being in my team is incredible as well. So I think that's
never stop learning.
Achievement to me.
You never stop learning. And have you had the opportunity now to recruit administrators as well, Nicole?
So we haven't recruited recently, but I have been involved in the recruitment process and watching how many people come to the interviews are really passionate about joining the mortgage industry. It's really nice to see, and a lot of them are younger people as well. So a lot of people sort of 21, 22, and it's really nice to see that they want to be part of our industry.
And it won't be long before when you're doing those sort of recruitment interviews, you'll see little bits of you in those people that you're recruiting. And I think that's fantastic. Because it gives you a buzz on sort of bringing the next generation through and sort of nurturing their talents as well. Megan, what would you say your highlights have been so far?
I would say probably making the move from residential case management over to the specialist side. It's a completely different world, but as I say, I've been doing it for 8 years or so, and you think you've got a majority under your belt, and then going into the specialist world is completely different. And learning that, I do feel like a brand new administrator again. But I think having the connections or contacts that you had from previously always helps. Obviously, everyone in this industry is so nice and so helpful, and I think that's what I want to get across to people joining, is that don't be afraid to ask for help, or if you don't know something. So that is a big highlight for me coming over to Coreco. And of course, winning the award that Pepper Money sponsored. Loved that. Thank you. But no, it was, no, I'm learning every day, and it's just learning the specialist way as well. It's just difficult, but it's definitely pushed me to push my boundaries and make sure that my confidence has grown and grown since.
And don't be afraid of doing that, I think, isn't it? Don't be afraid to push your boundaries, because this might be pushing your boundaries for both of you today, because you're probably not done a great deal of this, but you're doing really well, so that's great. And I'm biased. All I've ever done is sold specialist mortgages. That's all I've ever done in my life. I've never sold a rate. I've just sold loads of solutions. So it's absolutely superb to have you on board. So let's sort of, for the people that are watching today, let's have a look at maybe just getting under the skin of what makes a really good administrator. I mean, what skills would you say, and what characteristics are needed in your day-to-day life to make an award-winning or fantastic administrator? Come to you first, Megan.
Okay. I think diary management is probably one of the biggest things that I've had to learn through the last few years. I mean, there might be some days where I've got such a big diary, or I've got so many emails in my inbox, and it's just learning how to prioritize what needs to be done first. Is there a deadline for completion? Is a product being pulled? And I'm sure we'll come back to that. Lenders pulling.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, but it's just about prioritizing and being honest with the client and the broker. I mean, we're working with the brokers as well. If there's something that comes across my desk and I just don't have the time, or I'm prioritizing something else, it's just about communication. And I think, in my opinion, as long as everything's communicated and things are getting done with quality, this is again what I spoke to you about earlier, Rob, is that there's times that I've just tried to get so many things done at once, and it's just impossible. I couldn't have done it. But I think doing quality work over the amount of work, getting, even if it's half your diary, but you know that you've done it to the best of your standards, instead of just doing half jobs on it all. So yeah, diary management, pipelines with your brokers as well. I probably have about 3 to 4 a week with both of, and especially at the moment with the market the way it is. Yeah. So prioritizement, diary management, and lender and solicitor relationships are such a big win in this industry. If you've got someone on the end of the phone, a BDM or an underwriter or a solicitor that you can call upon to assist with the case, which is urgent, that's something that is really good to have under your belt as well.
And as you alluded to earlier, it feels like we're all a wider family, doesn't it? I mean, I genuinely think, and I think we've demonstrated that time and time again since last September, when things started going a little bit out of order again, that we do come together and work really collectively well together. Use all your contacts is the best bit of advice anybody can give, I think. Talk to your lender partners, your BDMs, and if you can get access to underwriters, speak to an underwriter. Best thing you'll ever do.
And I think I told you an example the other day. Oh, are you still here? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I said an example. Sorry, my laptop just went black. An example the other day. I had a case which came across my desk, and is near completion, but there's something came up in the legals, and I had no idea what to do with it. It's the first time I've come across this issue, and my broker was on annual leave. And I literally had to ring the bank up and say, I'm so sorry, but I don't really know what to do at this point. How am I going to ask the client this is this? And I mean, the bank was so nice. The underwriter was like, this is what I'm here for. Ask what do you need? So I literally copied and pasted the query, sent it.
Brilliant.
And they just broke it down for me. So even now, I don't know sometimes, and I'm having to ask the bank for help. And again, I think that's why our mortgage industry is one of a kind, and it's something that we work together with.
Never be afraid to ask for help.
No.
I do. I still have things that come into me that I haven't got a clue about, and I just go to somebody that does.
Yeah.
Nicole, what do you think great characteristics you have that make you a superb administrator?
I think a big one is the ability to adapt. So in my role in particular within Dynamo, I work from everything from residential to bridging to commercial to buy-to-let, all the different, anything that you can think of, I've probably touched at some point in my 4 years at Dynamo. And it's just the ability to adapt between the types of lenders, the types of clients, the types of solicitors that you use, as well as with lenders changing all the time, or rate pools, things like that. Being able to work hard under pressure, I think, is a very big key skill as well. And also managing people's expectations as well as your brokers. So I actually work with three, I'm dedicated to 3 brokers, but I do work with a spectrum of brokers from our office as well. So it's just managing their expectations as to, if you've got a high caseload, you have to be honest and just tell them that it'll be done within this turnaround. And the same with your clients. It's better to under-promise and over-deliver with your clients. So it's just being able to make sure you, like Megan said, stick to your diary, make sure you know what you're prioritizing. And if you ever get stuck, ask for help. There's so many people around that can help you, whether they're in your business, elsewhere, lenders. There's always people around that can help you.
Go on, and nobody's listening, Nicole. Who do you find it harder to manage, the customer or the broker?
The broker.
Every day. Megan, would you agree?
Absolutely.
I mean, it must be a real challenge for you, because you're not just dealing with one dedicated broker. If you've got one broker, piece of cake, because you're just working for them. Yeah. You've got 3, Megan's got 2, you're managing their priorities. And no doubt those individual brokers think their business should take priority over the others. It must be an absolute nightmare. I mean, one thing that I'd like to sort of pick up on is we are in changing and challenging times over the last 12 months. How's this impacted, Nicole? Come to you first. How's this impacted your day-to-day work? Have you seen major changes in how you've had to deal with things?
So one of the biggest changes that COVID actually brought to us was a lot of lenders went from having us to see all the original documents, certifying documents, having to provide stuff, to everything being electronic, which I think has streamlined our processing so much easier now. We can process applications a lot quicker, processing times are quicker, and although turnaround times of the lenders may be really high at the moment, as long as you're communicating with your clients, communicating with your brokers, I think the challenges at the moment can be, although they're challenging, I think you can get through them quite easily with your clients as long as your communication is there.
And how are Dynamo and Coreco, same question to both of you really, how's the working model changed since COVID and the lockdown? Because obviously we went remote working. Have you sort of then rolled back to sort of hybrid or so many days in the office, or are you back in the office, Nicole? Where are you based at the moment?
So Dynamo, we're very much back in the office.
Okay.
We do now have a working from home policy, which we didn't have before. So it has allowed us as a business to start working remotely when we need to, which is also really helpful. Some people really enjoy working from home, some people really enjoy being in the office, but it has changed slightly, which I think is a good thing to allow us to be at home as well.
Yeah, have you found that working from home is simple? It doesn't add another layer of complication? Is it as simple to work from home? Sometimes you get a little bit more done rather than the distractions of the office?
Yeah, so our systems now are a lot easier to use than they were in lockdown, when we all obviously had to rush to find something to be able to work from home. But when you're at home, you don't have the constant distractions around you. So you can get a bit more done at home. You can focus on your emails, calling your clients, things like that. You don't have to, you won't hear the incoming calls all day. But I prefer being in the office, being around people, being able to talk to brokers face to face to solve issues on applications rather than trying to get hold of them by mobile.
I totally agree. And I think even from like an underwriting perception as a lender, it's so much easier if you're sat next to a colleague and you've got a complicated situation. You can turn to the colleague and say, what would you do here? Because I think when we were in lockdown, shopping lists from underwriters probably got a bit longer because they weren't able to ask those questions, so they'd ask for it anyway. Megan, what's when Coreco have moved to big grand offices in London, so you must be back in the office.
No, we're not. We are. We're hybrid still, so it's very much up to the brokers, administrators where we'd like to work. In separate teams, so my team, we usually are in on Tuesdays, and that's when we coincide with lenders coming in to speak to us on the specialist side. So we'll always have a lender come in, speak to us, go on a social with a solicitor or a lender. And then other teams come in on Wednesdays or Thursdays as well. So it's very much hybrid. And it, as Nicole said, I mean, I work better on certain days from home. So I don't have all the distractions of people around me or the calls going off all the time. So if I'm doing compliance days, admin days, most likely I'll be at home. And so I can just put my headphones in on the radio and just get on with my day. But with our job, it is very much face-to-face communication. And those Tuesdays are really good for us because we'll bounce off ideas if we've got cases to place, if cases are stuck. So, at Coreco is still very much hybrid. But, yeah, it's a nice new office that we've got as well.
It looks nice. And don't forget, everyone listening, this is a free fall. This is open. I've got loads of questions to ask Megan and Nicole, but anything you want to ask, Shakina's manning the inbox and she can ask your question to the ladies as well. I mean, one thing I'd like to come on now is probably the challenges we're all facing. I mean, I think we're all, every single one of us is staring down the barrel of a cost of living crisis. We know ourselves. When you do your midweek shop now, it used to be 20 quid, it's now 40 quid. Don't get me started on the price of butter. I'll bore you all day about it. But I do think that the mortgage market is reacting quickly, fastly, moving erratically sometimes to react to this. And one thing that must cause you absolute heartache is product withdrawals. You're right. Somebody said you'll no doubt talk about that, and I will. I mean, that I only have to deal with one set of products that we deal with and we change on a fairly regular basis. How are you dealing with it? And what would be your plea to lenders when they're considering doing product withdrawals? Megan, you're not on mute. You can have that one.
My plea to lenders, I just think giving us enough notice that we can go back to the clients and say, I'm going to need XYZ from you from Coreco's point of view, that we can actually get this into a lender. I mean, we could have priced it, we could have sent terms, and the client might be looking, but I won't have enough information for the actual rate to be secured. And there's a lot of these lenders now you have to pay the valuation fee up front, or you have to pay the application fee up front. And at the moment, especially in specialists, a lot of these fees they're not 999, they're big fees, which sometimes
non-refundable largely.
Yes. So, and sometimes when I've been given an hour or two or 45 minutes in some cases, it's just I just can't do it. And I think it's just so difficult because you're feeling with clients their anxieties of them wanting to get this product, so they know that they are fixed for 2 or 5 years at a reasonable mortgage payment. And it's just so difficult when you have to go back to them and say, I've got an hour, and they're at work and they can't send me everything that they need to, or they can't ring me to pay their val fees or their application fees. So I just think having some notice, even if it is 24 hours or just 5 p.m. the next day, at least then the client has the evening or the morning to collate everything I need and set up the money for the transfer of the application of val. It's just, I think, what I struggle with sometimes is I think everyone's so anxious at the moment my mortgage is coming up and I'm even anxious about mine. And I'm just worried, like when the clients are putting their worries and anxieties onto us, I just really want to fix them that rate. And it's just a bit upsetting when I can't do it in the small time frames that we're given.
Great. Nicole, what are your thoughts? It must be the bane of your life.
Yeah, mine's very similar to what Megan said. Sometimes we just don't get enough notice. And having a wide range of applications as well with different lenders, having to go through them all and find which clients you still need to submit those applications to, it can be difficult. And if we've only got a couple hours, sometimes clients are working, sometimes they're out, they can't always answer the phone, they can't always send you the ID checks you need or the documents you need or the fees that you need, and it can be really stressful for everyone involved. So I do think that if lenders were able to just give you at least 24 hours or at least half a day to be able to get those documents over, it would be so much nicer. But you do get the odd one where it's like you get an email at 3 o'clock saying the products are going at 5. So then you have all the brokers harassing you, trying to get all those documents in, trying to get all those applications in. But yeah, I think it's just we just sometimes need a little bit more notice from lenders.
I get that. And I think lenders we all need to take a look at ourselves to make sure that we're giving you that. I mean, I can only speak from Pepper's perspective. We've always tried to give at least 2 days to get a dip in, and then 3 days after that to convert it, because we're a small player in comparison to the lenders that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Rob, that was just going to say, I even if lenders are like you guys, we can get a dip in where we've got probably all the information that we need for a dip. It's just all the fees and all the documents and stuff. If we can have a dip and then give us two or 3 working days for the clients to then collate everything for us, it would be so much better. But it's just difficult.
And I get it. I mean, I know different lenders' funding mechanisms, they need to move quickly. They're frightened of leaving maybe a product out just there slightly too long because they get inundated with business, service will suffer. But surely by sort of having such tight turnaround times, the packaging of the deals wouldn't be as good as you two would like to give. You're just getting it over the line to get it in, and then you almost have to do the work again to make sure that everything is correct.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think also you build, and this is the same with me. If I go and see a customer and me as a broker, and a broker for me, you build up a relationship with over time. The same as your broker partners build up relationships with customers over time. And you can almost see the scene, can't you, that a broker sells a deal or the ideal of a deal, gets a dip done and says, right, go away and find a property, only to ring them an hour later saying, if you want that deal, you've got to sign it today. It just can't be good for everybody and anybody's mental health. And I think it's good to touch on that. And it's great to see on your CV, Nicole, about you being a mental health first aider. How do you guys switch off? I mean, what sort of takes you away from the mortgage industry? Nicole, what do you do to try and chill and turn the sort of close the door on the mortgage business?
So I try really hard to, when I've switched off, when I'm going home, that's it, that my day's done. Sometimes you'll get the odd case where you do take the stresses home with you. It's just finding something that helps you relax, whether it's, I don't know, some people like watching TV, some people like going for runs, some people like going for walks, just talking to people. I think it's finding something that helps you unwind and de-stress, and making there's only a certain amount of hours in a day. There's only a certain amount of hours in your working day, and there's only so much you can get done. Me, myself, I've had 230 applications in one go once, and it's not possible for someone to touch all 230 applications. So sometimes you just have to know that you've prioritized what you can, you've done what you can do, and that tomorrow is a new day, go back in and start again with new cases. But I think it's just, you have to find a way of how do you de-stress.
Yeah, and what's right for one isn't right for everyone. And it might be something totally different, but just do it. Megan, what do you do to sort of de-stress and shut the door on work?
Same as Nicole, really. I do really try not to take stresses home with me, with cases if there's deadlines, completion looming. And it is really difficult. It's probably taken me a few years to try and really get the grasp of trying to switch off. I mean, there's been times I've really probably burnt myself out quite badly, thinking I need to do this, and I felt guilty for taking time off. And I just think it's so important to have that holiday or take that Friday off if you're not feeling it, and have a long weekend to recoup and come back stronger on Monday. I used to just work, and I used to stare at the screens, thinking, what am I doing? Like, what should I do first? And it just makes you counterproductive. So for me, I think I'm a lot better now at taking my holiday. In the mornings, I try to have an hour and a half. I'll try to go to the gym in the morning, or if it's sunny, I'll try and go for a walk first before I switch my emails and my laptop on. Before, I used as soon as I woke up, I used to look at the emails on my phone, and then that would be going off in my head before I went to the gym. So I'm quite strict to myself now that I won't log in until I've had a bit of a morning, had my breakfast, a coffee, and gone for a walk. And then after work, try and switch my laptop off. Yoga's helped me a lot, and walking and running. So it's difficult.
And I think, I know it's difficult. I know you're under pressure from both your brokers and from your customers, but try and block some time out in your diaries. I think one thing that Pepper are very good at, put a bit of well-being time in. Doesn't mean that you're not there, but it means people can't drop meetings in. Because I don't know about you, and I'm sure you're exactly the same. People see half an hour in your diary towards lunchtime, and they'll throw a meeting in. Block a bit of time out, I think, and just go. And if you've got a conversation to have, rather than do it on Zoom or Teams, do it on the phone, do it on the mobile, and go for a walk.
Yeah,
go and get yourself a coffee from the shop, whatever. just walk away from your desk, even though you're still working, you're having a bit of fresh air. So just a few things that we're doing.
Yeah.
This is an ominous sign. Shakina's here. We must have questions.
I am back. I feel sad to
Brilliant.
interrupt the chat, but I am back because we do have questions to
Good.
get through. We want to make sure that we do have time to answer them. So firstly, but that was a great conversation, by the way. I find it really interesting. But firstly, we do have a question from Kindra, who asks, do you have any advice or tips for what prospective employers are looking for on LinkedIn or CVs? She's finding it difficult to summarize the role of a mortgage administrator in order to further her career. So what tips do you have to sort of summarize that and package it well? Can I put that to Nicole?
So one thing we sort of look for when we've interviewed people for an administrator role is a lot of the time it doesn't always come down to experience as to what you have and haven't done already, but a lot of the time it's how you sort of present yourself, how you work well under pressure. Are you also like a people person? Do you have you don't have to have a lot of understanding, but if we were to train you, would you be able to understand the mortgage industry enough to be able to do your role without feeling stressed about it? Because although we're not advisors, it's really helpful for us to know a lot about the industry because we are able to communicate with our clients a lot better as well. So I'd say, or even joining things like this, getting experience, speaking to lenders, joining different lender experiences that they do, just getting as much information as you can. You can put those sort of things on your CV that you've enjoyed, that you've joined lender expeditions or you've joined events, and that's helped broaden your knowledge a bit.
Yeah. And Nicole, do you have any tips as well? Sorry, Megan. Sorry. I was looking at Megan. I said Nicole.
It's probably just echoing what Nicole said. Even though we're not brokers and you don't need to know everything about the industry, it's helped me a lot learning. I mean, I've got my CMAP and I think you don't have to have that now, but I just think having that knowledge and the background can definitely help you with clients. And being a people person, it's just being someone there for the client to email and say, oh, how's it going? And just being compassionate with them. I mean, if you're dealing with a first-time buyer, I mean, I know that I was so nervous when I was buying my first place. And I think it's about putting yourself in their shoes. And so, yeah, exactly what Nicole said, just being a people person, wanting to learn, willing to learn, because that's what Nicole could train someone up to do that. It's just how you are as a person and if you're personable.
Yeah. And Rob, do you have any insights to offer, seeing as you do sponsor an award that does recognise administrators?
I think it's be yourself, because I think a big part of what we do, and we all play a key part in the mortgage industry, just at different stages of the application process. People want to feel comfortable. People want to feel relaxed and feel that their biggest financial purchase they'll ever make is in safe hands, whether that's dealing with the lender, the broker, or the administrator. And they'll probably speak to the likes of Nicole and Megan more than anybody else in this process. And I think Megan makes a really good point. You don't need it, but you got CMAP. Fantastic. I've got it as a lender. I don't need it, but I've got it because I felt that I should have the same qualifications broadly as the broker. So I think that's really important. But be yourself, because largely this is a people game. And I talk all the time around, it's about conversation, not credit score. We want to talk to people to help them make a deal. And I think that's really important. But it's a great industry. Anybody thinking of joining it, get in it. It's brilliant.
There's some good tips. And actually, there is a question from someone who has just joined the industry, from Rebecca, who says she's only started a role as an admin a month ago. And what is your best advice for a new starter? So, Megan, I'll come to you with that.
I would say, probably touching back on what I mentioned previously, do not be afraid to ask for help. If you don't know something, or you don't know how to deal with a lender portal, you don't understand what the broker's asking you, please don't think that you can't ask anyone in the industry for help. I mean, there's so many times that I've got an email and I thought, oh my God, what do I do? And it's just being open and honest. And I think everyone in the mortgage industry, we've all started where you're starting now, and it can be really daunting and it can be a bit stressful, but just be open, honest, take your time with things, because it will come to you. It does feel a bit daunting now, and as Nicole said, join those lender webinars, join into webinars like this, and your knowledge will get there, and you'll start seeing the results that you want to see.
Great. And I do have another question. So what is the best way to demonstrate that you go above and beyond in your role? And I'll ask that to Nicole.
So that can be quite a hard question. It's always making sure you're communicating exactly what you're doing with your clients. So it's not always as straightforward as you receive a document, you send it to a lender, they get an offer, it's all done. There's sometimes a lot of things that happen within the process where you've had to go above and beyond, chasing lenders, chasing clients, chasing accountants, solicitors. There's lots of things in the process that people don't see behind the scenes. They just see you asking for documents, you going off, not talking to them for a little bit, and then here's your offer after evaluation. So it's always making sure you're telling the clients what you're doing, telling them that I've had a conversation with the lender, I've sorted these points out for you, you're going to get your offer. Making sure, so then the clients know that you're going above and beyond, and you're not just a person sat on the other side of the emails just pushing your documents over to a lender, that you are there to help, you're there to support, you're there to get them that mortgage.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just think there again, if you have an opportunity when your broker are seeing sort of lender BDMs for a lender that you deal with on a regular basis, see if you can sit in on those meetings. I know time doesn't always allow, but you can ask questions that the broker wouldn't ask. What happens about this? What happens about that? And I suppose one thing where I get a little bit defensive with my head office staff, with the guys that work in the office who do a great job, is just check the language. So when you're chasing an offer, for example, which I'm sure is a big part of what you do, people want an offer in the hands, just check what the lender means by a certain phrase. So, for example, one thing that we say is it's going for offer. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the offer's been issued, but you hear it's going for offer, you think the offer's out. That could mean it's going for final checks. So it could still take a little bit of time. So again, just check the language. Does that mean the offer will be out tomorrow? Just clarify, and that would hopefully save you a bit of hassle as well. But isn't it great that somebody that's only been in the industry a month signed up for attending this today, which shows that they want to learn, which is great.
Yeah, that is a really good sign. And actually, I'll put the next question to you, Rob, which is what resources can a mortgage admin use to stay on top of market complexity? Because, you know, you're more on the wider side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many really good podcasts around. I've got one myself, but there are so many really good podcasts around. There are so many good news-wise. Sign up for all the Mortgage Solutions news alerts, because that keeps you ahead of the day. Look for little events locally. Look at maybe asking your sort of office to put on an event for yourself. If it's a sizable office, can you get like a little expo yourself there where you get several lenders coming in? Because what we could do there is maybe not just bring BDMs in, salespeople in, we could bring underwriting staff in, because I think that's great. If you can build up a relationship with underwriters, I think that is superb. And as I touched on earlier, if you've got direct access to an underwriter as an administrator, make them your best friend. Salespeople are fluffy, we colour in. The underwriters actually make the decisions, and that's who you need to speak to, because you need to know exactly where the case is up to. So try and forge relationships where you can with the lenders, underwriters that you use on a regular basis.
Yeah, for sure. And Nicole, in your experience, have you managed to stay on top of any complexities in the market?
So it's just a case of knowing where your applications are. So within our business, all our applications have different stages within our system. So you can see which applications have been submitted, not have been submitted, ones that have valuations outstanding, ones that have valuations done, things like that. So when stuff happens, for example, rate pools, we will be able to go to that section that has just the applications that haven't been submitted. But I think it's a lot of that is organisation as well, making sure you know where your cases are, making sure you're on top of your emails, making sure you're on top of your caseload, and just making sure your diary is accurate, your diary is looked after, you don't stray from it too much. I think it's a massively organisation.
Yeah. And we do have a question from Jenna, and I'm guessing this is relating to someone in a more junior position. And she's asking, how would you help develop someone who works from home and the trainer is miles away, so face-to-face isn't viable? Other than Zoom, how could you include in a client meeting when you are in two places, Zoom meeting? So I'm guessing it's just asking about the distance and the remote nature of working. How can you develop someone in a role? So Megan, I'll put that to you.
Well, that's a difficult question, isn't it? I mean, I think depending on the distance, what I would really push for you to do is at least maybe have a couple days, at least a month or once a week at least, try and travel in to have those face-to-face with your peers in the office so you can learn. And there are so many opportunities to join things like this, to as Rob said, the mortgage solutions links that come through. I think CMAP as well will really help you develop just the basic mortgage knowledge. That, I mean, I don't need it, but I've got it behind me and it has helped. But I would really push to at least once a week or twice a month or something, see if you can travel up there. I mean, it'll be good to have that face-to-face connection because we are all in sales at the end of the day, and that's where all of our industry is based. So that's my advice, but I don't know if Rob's got anything else to, or Nicole's got anything to add to that.
It's a tricky one, isn't it, where distance is involved. I think the key thing is to make sure that the broker that you work with and support does everything they can to introduce you into that customer relationship. So whether you can't be at the initial client meeting, not ideal, which you obviously wouldn't expect to be on every occasion, but maybe just as they hand that deal over to you to sort of take through the vital stages, maybe you could have a very quick Zoom call or Teams call just to introduce you. Because I think once you've seen somebody face to face, it makes it so much easier to pick the phone up and say, forgot to ask, have you got another payslip or something like that. If you've seen somebody, it takes that initial difficulties away. So just try and maybe have an introductory 5-minute call with the broker to help you get to know the particular customer.
Yeah, very good advice. And we do have another one who's newer to the industry. It's Katerina, who's an apprentice admin. She started in May, and she's asking, do you have any advice for me when it comes to keeping on top of, keeping on top of what is necessary to get done, like any tactics of being more organized? And Megan, I'll come to you again with that.
I think what Nicole and myself was saying earlier, again, it's just prioritizing things, especially if you're a junior in the industry, looking at what needs to be dealt with first. Have you got a completion, which their mortgage rate's coming to an end? Do you need to make sure that completion's in hand with the solicitor first? So the way I used to do my diary is I used to look at my solicitor calls, I used to look at my lender calls, and I used to look at client emails that I'm waiting for documentation on. So I'd always get the solicitors done first in the morning, and then I'd always do the lenders, and then with clients would obviously email during the day for documentation wise. I just think it's also having pipelines with your brokers as much as you can. I mean, if you're just at the beginning of your journey, I mean, I still have about 3 pipelines a week with my brokers, literally every morning, run through 8:30. And we just go through what needs to be done today. What is our priority today? And that's probably my biggest advice piece to you, is going to your broker in the morning and saying, right, I've got X, Y, Z to do today in my diary. What is priority on this list? And getting that done. And just, as Nicole said, make sure all your notes are up to date and ensure that you know your cases that you've got ongoing at the moment.
Yeah. And Rob, actually, I want to put that question to you as well, because when the more organised an administrator is, I'm assuming the better the cases that come your way are. So do you have any advice or tips in that area?
I don't know. I think it's more for the administrator. I mean, the only thing I would say is prioritise, which Megan said, but also manage expectations. So if you know you've got somebody that's getting quite anxious and they're chasing you almost, and I don't know, can it be like on the hour? You could probably get chased, can't you? If you know something's not going to happen today, but you know it will happen tomorrow, make a proactive call to the customer and say, look, this is an update for you. Nothing's going to happen today, so don't ring me today, but we're expecting it tomorrow. And it might just put a very fractious conversation to tomorrow when you know something's going to happen. So prioritise and manage expectations and make a proactive call to manage those expectations, I think would be the right thing. But you're right, the better you can package a case, get everything, and don't drip feed it. Don't drip feed stuff in that lenders want. Try and get everything together. So, and I know that's difficult with rate pools as they are, but if you've got a bit of time, don't submit something today with only half the requirements. I guarantee if you submit it with half the requirements, you'll get another shopping list because they ask more questions. Wait until you've got everything together that the lender has asked you for, and then submit it in a one. You'll get a much more consistent, transparent and seamless decision. So that's just another little bit of a tip from a lender's side. package it all completely, send it in a one.
Great. Thank you very much. I think I'm going to end there because we are coming up to our time.
We could go on forever.
We could go on forever, but we don't have forever, unfortunately.
That's fun.
Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me. And I hope everyone watching enjoyed the session and found it useful. I feel like some people would have got some good information out of that. So thanks for all your advice and your tips. And that is all we have for you today, as I said. And I hope you've gained something from not just this session, but the rest that have been over the day. And hopefully you can take it back to work and share it with your colleagues. And also, any sessions that have been missed today or you want to rewatch can be viewed on the Mortgage Solutions YouTube channel from tomorrow afternoon, so you can catch up and watch at your leisure. And we will also be sending out a feedback form to attendees tomorrow. So please keep an eye out for those and let us know your thoughts about today in the sessions. Otherwise, thank you all and have a lovely rest of the day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.